Hey, it's Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Sacramento Kings were beat by the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 132-105 to end their brief road trip. Buddy Hield led the way with 21 points, while Dave Joerger emptied the bench early with no starters playing more than 18 minutes. Sacramento's off tonight before welcoming in the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow at the Golden One Center. And Week 15 of the NFL finished up last night. It was the Saints over the Panthers, 12-9 in Carolina. New Orleans maintained their hold on the number one seed in the NFC, followed by the Rams, Bears, Cowboys, Seahawks, and Vikings. That's what the NFC playoff picture looks like going into Week 16. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs at the 1 seed, the Texans at the 2, and followed by the Patriots, Steelers, Chargers, and Ravens. It's 7:03. Peak Financial wants to talk retirement. Dial pound 250 and say the word money. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Matt Barrows in the top 49ers at 8:05. College Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Coors Light, coming up at 8:35. And Four Down Territory brought to you by Fire Wings. That's our next segment at 7:15. Your phone calls at 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140, all brought to you on the Fire Wings hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. Want to make this segment yours, so we go to Derek. Derek, you're first up on the drive. Welcome in. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I just wanted to go on a bit of a rant. It's obvious that there's a direct correlation between the style of play, the pace, and our back-to-back record. These guys leave everything out on the court. They are exhausted. I mean, look at Bogey, right? The guy is playing baller D. He was hugging up on Luka Doncic all for the first half, and by the time we get to these games, he's got nothing. He couldn't even have enough strength to get the ball to the rim. And so when people complain about Dave Joerger resting players, my only comment to that is call San Antonio and complain about Greg Popovich, because he knows as much as anybody that if this team's going to make the playoffs, health is the most important thing we can do. We cannot afford to lose guys like Fox or Buddy or Bogey because they're pushing them too hard. I mean, we got lucky that Bagley only got a bone bruise. I was completely sweating that he had an ACL tear. So relax, Kings fans. This team is amazing. We just got to give them time and let them play.
Derek, I hope that's not your last call, because I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And on the text line, I'm starting to see this too. And we can make a whole different segment about this. I won't. But I do also wonder how many people that are truly upset at last night, not all, but I do wonder how many people that are upset last night had money on the game and perhaps money on the Kings. They saw that -8 for Minnesota. I think sports betting is going to change a lot of sports takes over the next few years, and that's just a reality we have to get used to.
I think they should make a rule. If I was the sports czar, isn't that the Bill Simmons concept?
Yes.
Borrowing from that concept, I would make sports betting legal, and then I would make it so you have to register your favorite teams.
Yeah.
And then you can't bet on them.
Can't bet on them. That way your opinion is fully unfiltered.
So I could not bet on A's games, Niner games, Dubs games. Don't.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Andrew, you're on the drive. Go ahead.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
Good, Andrew. How are you?
Doing good.
I'm doing pretty good, man. I totally agree with the last caller. I think that one of the things you have to remember about the team this year, this team is designed to run the floor. And like you alluded to in the last segment, Dave, these guys have massive amounts of data about miles run on the court. I don't think Joerger went into the game last night thinking we're going to deliberately blow this game. But he put the guys out on the floor. After roughly 6 minutes, it's just like, yep, it's not going to work tonight. This is exactly what we were feeling might happen, and we're going to get into plan B. One of the other benefits that we got out of last night, guys, is we're positioned well for the trade market this year. You got a lot of trade pieces last night, some good run. So NBA teams could get a look at them instead of just looking at them on the bench day in, day out. Now, this team is way overperforming this year. I think Joerger has definitely earned the ability to make decisions like this in the game. And don't forget, NBA players love this guy. This is a small group, comparatively speaking, in professional sports. the NBA Players Association, they love this guy for a reason. NBA players love Joerger, and it's because he makes decisions like this. The worst thing that could have happened last night was we run Fox, we run Bielitsa for 36 minutes, and we lose by 5 points and have to get ready for Wednesday night against the Thunder. So I'm totally happy with it.
Thank you, Andrew. And it brings up a good point, too, about the gas in the tank, what we talked about. Now, this doesn't mean the Kings are going to go out and beat Oklahoma City, though they have in the 2 times they've played them. And it doesn't mean they're going to go out and beat, Memphis? I don't want last night's decision to be based on those outcomes. But if they lose, it won't be because they're tired. And the Kings have, I think they're tied with a couple of teams, but the Kings have the most back-to-backs this year at 15. I believe the range is 9 or 8 to 15 this year. I mean, listen, I don't like watching my team lose by 30 in the second quarter to a team they just beat a week prior. But as Andrew just said on the phone, I can't say it any better. Joerger's aware of the schedule. I think he had it in the back of his head the whole time. I'm going to start these guys, and if the Kings were up 14-4, you're going to see a whole different ballgame. But he saw right away, these guys don't have it. They're tired. I'm with them in the hotel. I'm with them at shoot-around. I'm with them at practice. My coaches talk to them. I talk to players. I have vets talking to me. All the players want to play.
Right.
Joerger's got to, spank him into sitting.
And I think when people say the texter earlier said we're not the Spurs or Warriors, like we got to go win every game. I think that's why the starters played it all, because Joerger was going to see, hey, maybe like you said, maybe they go up 14-4 to start the game,
right?
And he can kind of manage minutes a little differently and still try and pull out a win. But you start out in a 14-4 hole. He went, you know what? I shouldn't have played these guys at all. Pull them out.
I'm laughing, Kyle, because while you were making your point, I got a number of texts on the text line at 441140. I want to commend these people for being this honest, seriously. About 3 of the 5 super fired up people on the text line from earlier that were losing their minds at this just came clean.
Had the Kings -8.
That they had the Kings -8. They just came clean. And one guy, and he didn't include his name, and I won't use his name, but he says, this is one of the guys that was really fired up. And he says, finally, Dave, yes, I put $1,000 freaking dollars on the game, and I just pissed it away. They quit. I should have just burned that money outside of my house.
What were you doing?
I'm guilty of having bought into this effing team too much. 8 points to the GD Wolves, and we quit. I truly thought 8 points was too much for the Wolves. That's a real thing happening right now with the spread and prevalence of gambling.
The thing is, I think in a vacuum, he's right. But you have to look at the schedule. You have to go, this is their 3rd game in 4 nights. That's what we talked about yesterday when we were going, man, 8 seems like a lot. Then you said there's something happening here. They're on a back-to-back, and that's
anybody who thinks
Vegas is smart, dude.
Anybody who thinks they're an expert on sports betting, I'm talking about your pros, is trying to sell you something, usually on a recorded message line. I can guarantee you what the guy who texted me was probably thinking. The Kings have covered the spread more than any team in the NBA going into last night. They just beat Minnesota. They're great on the road, 2 games above 500. -8, maybe they might lose the game, but -8's way too much. I'm going to put some cash down. I get it. But I will just simply ask you this. I'm not going to blame you for being upset. I'm not going to blame you for being out of your mind. I would have been the same way. It is not Dave Joerger's job to look at the line and protect your bets. And I know that you guys know that. So don't blame him for trying to get this team to the playoffs and win a championship long term because you put $1,000 on the Kings +8 last night.
Hey, so I want to real quick before we go.
Yeah.
The person on the line, and we'll get to him after the break, his name's Mo. I thought he was saying Mull.
Mull.
And so I went, how do you spell that? And he goes, M-O? Like,
there's Richard Mull. Do I have time to take a call?
No.
No?
No.
No? All right.
No, because we got to go.
We'll take a break.
We got to do the responsible thing.
All right, we'll take a break. More Kings at 7:35. We'll get into this even deeper. 4-down territory next right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Just getting my notes together off air here. I want to remind everybody, starting in about 45 minutes, we here at KHTK will be the first of 2 days of us doing our fire school, Butte County Campfire School Supply Drive. That's a lot of words. So here's the deal. We've talked about this before, the Do One Thing Challenge. We had an amazing caravan go up there a few weeks back. So many of you participated. And even more of you said either, I want to participate again, or I didn't get a chance to participate. How can I help? Here's all I can say, and I'll say it again throughout the show. The national media is gone. The fires are out. I don't want to use the term, I want to use my words carefully here. I don't want to say it's not cool to help out the Butte County fire people anymore, but it's kind of like that. It's off CNN. It's not the top story on the news every day, so out of sight, out of mind. But for example, there are thousands of kids that are going back to school during the holidays that are literally going to school in trailers, who all their stuff burnt up. So what we're all trying to do is help them. And I can't think of too many things better than investing in kids and making sure they have the opportunity to learn on top of everything else they have to deal with. So here's what we're asking for. Backpacks, notepads, pens, pencils, binders, markers, clipboards, paper crayons, folders, construction paper, craft supplies, other general school supplies. You get it. Gift cards are absolutely welcome, too. If you don't have the time to do all that, we totally understand. We're out here at 280 Commerce Circle in Sacramento, right off of 160. We'll be collecting items from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. today, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow, and then we're driving right up to the Butte County Board of Education, dropping everything off, teaming up with the Sac Republic and all those fine people over there who are doing the same thing down at their headquarters. If that's closer to you downtown, hit that. If you have any questions, hit me up on the text line at 441140 or on my Twitter account at Carmichael Dave. Happy to answer them and to do anything I can to make it easy for you to help out. So go to KHTK.com, check all that out, and apologies in advance. You're going to be hearing me say this a few more times during the show. Every bit helps, and listen, no pressure. I'm not trying to guilt anybody. Sincerely, thank you to any and all who can spare the time and expense around these holidays to help these kids out. All right, it's 4-down territory brought to you by Fire Wings. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. Kyle, because I took a little bit of time there, I know we'll have to jam here. So question number one, first down.
The Saints won, but are they okay?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm going to rely on you for a lot. I want your analysis since I wrote these questions. I wrote them I don't think they're okay. They might just be going through a slump. They might just be hitting teams at the, quote, wrong time. They just haven't looked like they did for most of this season over the last few weeks. What do you think the issue is?
You know, I'm honestly, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I think there's, maybe Drew Brees is just old because he has not been playing well. Maybe they're running into some of the same stuff the Rams are running into where people are kind of figuring out their offense a little bit. I think the Saints are more okay than the Rams, though, because the Saints are still in a prime spot. I think they have the Falcons and the Panthers to close the year. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And if they get home field in the playoffs, I like the Saints at home way more than I like them on the road. And they're going to get to play in a dome in the Super Bowl, too. I think the Saints are just fine. And why they're struggling the last few games, because they got shut out in the first half by Dallas. Only scored 10 points. They ended up putting up 28 on the Bucs, but that was a struggle to beat them by a couple of touchdowns. And then last night, obviously, it's a division game, though. It's outdoors. It's a Monday night. The Panthers are better than their record. They put up a good fight, and the Saints found a way to win.
Second down.
Second down.
What's your top headline from Week 15?
I think it's the road to the Super Bowl is wide open. I think we have seen the blue bloods of this year. I'm talking about the Rams, the Chiefs, the Saints, the Patriots, the Steelers. We've seen them all falter. In fact, the hottest team in the whole damn sport right now is the the LA Chargers. It's wide open. The Houston Texans have a bye in the AFC playoffs right now if the season ends today. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know who the hell is going to win the Super Bowl, and I love it. I love that we are sitting here going into Week 16, and it's wide open.
Yeah, we talked about at the beginning of the season, like what teams we could see winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go down the list of AFC teams in the playoffs right now, it's Kansas City, Houston, New England, Pittsburgh, the Chargers, and the Ravens. If you told me any of those teams won the Super Bowl, I think I'd be surprised if the Ravens won.
Sure.
I would be very surprised if but those other five, okay.
Sure.
You can sell me. In the NFC, same thing. New Orleans, the Rams, Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, Minnesota. I think I'd be a little bit surprised if
I'd take the top three there. I'd be surprised if anyone else won, but Bears, Saints, Rams.
But you could talk me into any of those six.
Sure.
And that was not the case even a month ago.
We are in Week 16, and everything is wide open. And that is fantastic, and that is something that football is very, very good at. By the way, with who was it that clinched? With the Bears, clinching the NFC North, I think that's 14 out of the last 15 years a team has gone from last place to first place in their division. Love that about football. Third down.
Third down.
What was the most impressive win of the weekend?
I got to give it to Philadelphia. Carson Wentz is out. They put Nick Foles in and just pick up where they left off last year. You go into Los Angeles, you take on a Rams team that was 11-2. I get that the Rams haven't looked great, but that's not the Eagles' fault. With a salute to the Steelers, the 49ers, and a couple others, for me, considering where they are this year and the fact that they are the defending champions, and they are in such a hole that they put themselves in, to have their quarterback out and to be able to pick up where they were last year, that impressed the hell out of me.
I'm going to give it to the Colts. They shut out the Cowboys 23-0, the scorching hot Cowboys, who Jerry Jones was being lauded as the best GM in the history of football because he made this midseason trade for Amari Cooper, and it turned the season around, and the Cowboys were going to the Super Bowl, and the Colts pasted them 23-0. They ran behind Marlon Mack. The Colts, of all teams, got behind their running game. They put up 23 points on a good Dallas defense. They didn't give up any against a red-hot offense. That was a very impressive win by the Colts, and one that, if they're going to be in the playoffs, no team wants to see Indianapolis.
I completely agree with you. Fourth down.
Fourth down. Fourth down.
Give me your top five teams right now.
I'm gonna go Saints, Chargers, Rams, Chiefs. No. I'm going to go Saints, Chargers, Rams, Bears, Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs without Kareem Hunt have not been the same. And I love that Chicago is doing it with defense. Their offense isn't horrible at all, but it's their defense that's coming together. Saints, Chargers, Rams, Bears, Chiefs.
I've got the Saints at the top as well. I've got the Chargers at 2, just based on how they're playing right now. They've been excellent, and they just knocked off the Chiefs. Then I've got the Bears at 3, followed by the Chiefs and then the Rams. The Rams are really sputtering right now. Jared Goff in his last 3 games has 1 touchdown and 7 picks, and his completion rate is at like 54%. Todd
Gurley didn't look right either.
Yeah, he's been bad, and he banged up his knee the other night. You saw him with the wrap on his knee on the sideline, and he just doesn't look right. So based on how the Rams have looked the last 3 weeks, they've got to go at the bottom for me. But that being said, if you told me the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl, I would not be surprised.
One question about the Rams. Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Brandon
Cooks.
Thank you, Cooks.
Too many Cooks.
Is it possible that we underestimated the importance of Cooper Kupp?
No.
Or are we putting too much into that?
I think we're putting too much.
Okay.
A little bit.
It was right around when he went down.
It was a few weeks after, but yeah.
Cooper Kupp,
I think
the key to the Rams.
The bigger deal is people aren't buying all their I think Boomer Esiason called it window dressing. At least he was one of the first guys I heard call it that. You know, the motions and the fake sweeps and the play actions. They run more play action than any team in the league. And what you're seeing is linebackers aren't biting on that play action anymore. So those passes over the middle and those deep throws that they had open because safeties were crashing down aren't there anymore. And Jared Goff hasn't been good enough to overcome that.
No, he hasn't. Maybe Sean McVay's assistant coach.
Or is Jared Goff assistant quarterback?
Ooh. We'll switch back to the Kings next. Matt Barrows at 8:05. More.
Should Sean McVay take a page out of Dave Joerger's book and sit Jared Goff?
See? Yeah, see? We'll talk about Dave Joerger's performance last night, also his comments, his clarification, whatever you want on the Luka Doncic thing. We'll get that out of the way in the beginning. We missed some of your phone calls in the last segment. We're opening up the phone lines. We'll go 7:35 all the way till 8 o'clock with your phone calls at 1-800-920-1140. The drive continues with the Sacramento Kings next on Sports 1140 KHTK.
This is Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Sacramento Kings were blown out by Minnesota last night, 132-105 to end their brief road trip. Buddy Hield led the way with 21 points, while Dave Joerger emptied the bench early with no starters playing more than 18 minutes. Sacramento's off tonight before welcoming in the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Golden One Center
You're hurting.
tomorrow.
You're hurting so bad. Kyle's hurting everybody. That's why he sounds like he's sad. The Kings did not play many people last night. It's not, he's not being lazy. He doesn't feel well.
I told this to Eunice at the break. A general malaise.
Yes.
Like that's what. Like I have a headache.
Right.
The lymph nodes in my neck are a little swollen.
It's all right, buddy.
But I don't have any other there's nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm just like
it was. By the way, yesterday it was just Colonel malaise. You promoted it overnight.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, general malaise.
I should have been rested instead of playing today.
That's your sports update.
Well, and the Panthers beat the Saints last night.
Yeah,
no, they didn't. The Saints beat the Panthers last night, 12-9.
I tried to get you out of it.
I know. It's 7:34. Peak Financial wants to talk retirement. Dial pound 250 and say the word money. Those are your top stories. Back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Sad kitty.
It's the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Kyle Madsen's a gamer. Does Kyle Madsen have other things he needs to say?
Heck yeah, he does.
Go ahead.
Want to let everybody know that we've got a family 4-pack to see Monster Jam, the most action-packed motorsports experience for families in the world. Coming to the Golden One Center January 18th through 20th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. All KHTK giveaways are powered by RosevilleAutomall.com. We've got a family 4-pack for you.
And we'll do that.
Coming up,
what do you think, about the end of the show?
Yeah, coming up at the end of the show.
Around 8:55. So if you're listening on the app, just set your timer for that. We'll do that at the end of the old program. I want to get into the Kings game last night. We haven't really addressed Coach Joerger's pregame comments. He said before the Dallas game that he was, I'm paraphrasing, very impressed with Luka Doncic. And there was an idea of how that he had a ceiling, and unfortunately for us, that's not the case. A lot of people took that as, unfortunately for us, like we did wrong. We regret the decision. In fact, I saw a CBS Sports article. I don't know the name of it. I didn't recognize the guy who wrote it. Saying the Kings are the first team to come out and say they regretted not taking Luka Doncic. Well, a lot of people read way far into those comments, and we talked about that yesterday. I did not think that Joerger was sending signals. It just didn't make any sense, especially with all the drama of late and seemingly gotten over that. Things are going well right now, last night's loss aside. But I understand, especially I think what really fanned the flames was the Doncic crowd, of which I was one that wanted Doncic, full disclosure, but I think the Doncic crowd saw that as a rallying cry of see, even the coach feels this way, and just jumped all over it. Well, I think it surprised the coach. And I think that because, well, you could tell in his comments yesterday, I don't think he expected people to take him that way.
In this case, all we're trying to do is say something positive about another team's player. And, there's no veiled shots at anybody. And, De'Aaron gushed about him and Bogey gushed about him and his ability and wishing him the best. And it's unfortunate that, we had to play him, and so does the rest of the league, because the guy's playing really well right now. So it was just out of love and positivity. And people try to turn it into something that, between Vlade and I, Vlade and I are like this. Absolutely. And 3 years now we've been working together, and we love it. I love it. And for the other ramifications of the deal, When we drafted Marvin at 2, I mean, we were high-fiving like crazy. We got the right guy for us. And, where we're going to be, this isn't going to be a story in 3 days. It's going to be definitely buried in 5 years from now when we've got the next Durant Westbrook. And that's how good they're going to be. They're both going to be in the All-Star game, and we're going to be deep in the playoffs, and I'm excited about that. And I like where we are, and I love where we're going, and everything is just, we're from Minnesota. It's just love. Like, I coach this kid in 25 games now. Every night I go home and going to do cartwheels and stuff. So that's just to squash some of that. So
there you go. I don't know. I don't know how much deeper to get into that. I don't really think it's necessary to get into that. I think Joerger was doing what coaches do all the time. He was praising. It is a standard question to get asked in media and amongst coaches and players. When a visiting team comes into your town, you ask the coach and or perhaps the players, if it's appropriate, about that team. For example, you noticed over the last couple weeks all the comments from Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, that were very positive about the Sacramento Kings. It is very standard when a team comes into town or you're playing another team. It's very standard to ask them, hey, so what do you think about our team? Then that person says glowing things about the team. And then the fans and the media all gush over what that person said. It's very standard. I'll say what I said yesterday. If Rick Carlisle had been asked by Jason Anderson of the Bee, hey, what do you think about Marvin Bagley so far this year? And let's say Bagley had been playing against Dallas, which he wasn't. He was hurt. And Carlisle said, take the verbatim what Dave Joerger said about Doncic, but insert Bagley. Carlisle said all the same things. There was a thought that Bagley had, deficiencies on the defensive end and a ceiling. But unfortunately for us, apparently that's not the case. I think he's going to be a tremendous player. And let's take it a step further. If Rick Carlisle had said his deficiencies were way overstated, not only do I think he's going to be a good player, I think he's going to be an all-star for years to come. I think he's one of the best young players in this league, and we've only scratched the surface of what Marvin Bagley can do in this league. The media would not so much have sneezed over what he said. But because there's that narrative, Doncic, Bagley, Doncic, there's a willful misinterpretation of comments to fit the narrative people want it to fit.
I think the thing that stands out the most to me is when Joerger said, I think the idea was that there was a ceiling on him. That reads as the idea we had was that there was a ceiling on him.
Yeah.
That's how that came across. That to me was the thing that stood out. If he had just said, "Oh, he's a phenomenal player," now we got to face him 3 or 4 times a year, and that would have been one thing. But it just the way those comments started was it was odd to me.
If Carlisle had said the same thing, do you think anybody care?
If they had picked before the Kings and there was a discussion of...
Okay, that's a great point. If Igor Koskorov, whatever the hell his name is, the coach of the Suns, if he said that about Bagley, do you think there would have been the same outcome?
And Bagley was having a better year than DeAndre Ayton?
Is Doncic having that?
And here's the other thing. The national narrative was, at least most of the national narrative was that it was 8-1, Doncic 2.
Yep.
The Kings didn't go with if the Suns had gone with the not uniform consensus,
sure, pick.
Number 1 pick, then yeah, because that's going to be a storyline forever. Like the Kings passing on Luka is going to be a thing forever.
Sure.
Because they didn't go the way that.
So do you feel Joerger erred in his comments? Not maliciously. Do you think he erred in his comments originally?
I think the wording was probably not what he was trying to convey. And it comes across, like I said, as that, like I said yesterday, it comes across as a veiled shot when he says, I think the idea was that there was a ceiling on him. And unfortunately for us, that's not the case. That comes across as we thought there was a ceiling on him, and unfortunately we were wrong. That's how it read to me.
Okay, but that's not. But he didn't say, and unfortunately we were wrong, and that's key. And I know that's not what you're saying, but that's key. He said,
sure.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a ceiling, which could be taken the way you thought,
right?
Or we're about to play him. Too bad he didn't have the ceiling. He's having a much better year. We're going to have our hands full tonight with this kid.
Sure, and that's what he says he meant. And if that's, then okay. But the initial way that came across was, we thought this kid has a ceiling. He didn't. Whoops. I don't think that's a shot. It's not. That has nothing to do with Marvin Bagley.
Somebody on the text line, 441140, just in case there's more than one person that thinks this way, doesn't understand what narrative means, saying, you guys have responsibility in this. Local narrative, too. This is directed by Kings fans and media types. No, you're mixing up the issues. I even said, full disclosure, I thought Luka was the pick. I thought Luka was the pick at number 2. That's not who they picked. But even I, who thought Luka was the pick, didn't look at Joerger's comments and try to, had I seized on his comments and waved that flag for the Luka camp, I would understand you saying that. Absolutely not. I thought his comments from the get-go were simply praising the other rookie. And this is part of the problem. This is why some coaches grunt and stutter and give you 2-word answers. I'm be very curious to see what Joerger's media availabilities are going to sound like for the next couple weeks. I mean, I don't have an issue, Kyle, with what you're. This is not me saying, "Ha, stupid, Kyle. How could you think?" Dude, I totally get it. My real issue is with other people in the media, mainly national media, that I know for a fact did not take the time. I know for a fact because I asked.
Right.
Didn't take the time to call the Kings, to try to contact Joerger, to try to get clarification. They took these very questionable comments, worded them into a narrative, and then put it out there nationally without even asking for clarification first.
Right, and that's where...
That's my problem.
When you look at, like, I at Niners Wire, I run a blog. If Kyle Shanahan says that about Derwin James, I'm going to write that and be like, hey, Kyle Shanahan said this about Derwin James.
Sure.
If I'm a journalist who covers the league, who's in locker rooms, who has contacts, you absolutely can't just run with that as, wow, look at what Dave Joerger said about Luka Doncic. Like, you have to give it some context.
Yes, you do.
And we do commentary. That's why we had Matt on yesterday, and the three of us kind of discussed what he had said. But to not, that's bad. I agree with what you're saying. To not call the Kings and go, hey, you want to elaborate on this? Or, hey, your thoughts on this? Or, this is how this is being interpreted. What do you say? It's leaving out one side of the story.
Next thing you know, it's literally on the front page at ESPN. It was a CBS Sports article saying the Kings were the first to regret not picking. You're making major leaps,
right,
and putting them front and center.
Right, you're parsing a comment and saying that is fact instead of getting a clarification on it first, and that's not okay.
132-105. Timberwolves beat the Kings last night. Again, Dave Joerger seems to be the main subject today. Many people, I wouldn't say most. I speaking of narratives, I want to make something clear since we've been talking about this much of the day. Most people actually understood what Joerger did last night, to be fair. Most people that I've seen and that I've talked to, they do understand it. But I would say about 20% of the fan base was livid last night because they felt like he gave up on the game. They felt that he waved the white flag, that one game could make the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. Bielitsa had 5 minutes, Cauley Stein 7, Fox 6. Buddy Hield had 18. He had 21 points, I believe, at the half. finished with 21 points. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 10 minutes. He played 8 reserves last night between 18 and 30 minutes. So the bench got a lot of time last night, and people had issues. Yes, Kyle. Sorry, I cut you off. You raised your hand. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to wrap up real quick. It's also worth noting that Dave Joerger has been nothing but super complimentary of Marvin Bagley since the second they drafted him. Anyways.
I completely agree with you. Let's see. From the 916. You guys, I'm sorry, from the 310, you guys definitely have a, quote, personal issue with the national media. Is it the, quote, small pond mindset? I will agree with that, but I'll actually agree with both of those, but with an asterisk. I do have a personal issue with some of the national media because I think they look at things from 50,000 feet, and I think it's very lazy and simple journalism to cherry pick a few things and feed into a national narrative that is, in a big way, the fault of the organization. Don't get me wrong. And then just roll with it instead of taking the time to make a phone call, do research, build relationships. I think it's very simple to say LOL Kings and Dave Joerger said all this stuff and let's print it and, oh, my God, look at all these clicks. Here's what I will bet. We will not see any of those journalists from yesterday writing those articles now writing articles saying maybe I was wrong. Here's what Joerger had to say today to clarify. No. And that's part of a bigger issue with media in general, that there's really no ramifications. There's no punishment for doing that. Now, if you were to say to me, I don't care what Joerger said yesterday, that's what he meant, and he can say all he wants. He got slapped on the hand. Okay, that's fine. But at least be fair and present it.
It's worth noting that on ESPN's front page this morning, it's been pushed to the NBA page. On their top headlines, it says Kings, Joerger, no veiled shots, and Doncic.
Good. Who wrote it?
Praise.
Was it AP? I'm just curious.
Let me see. No, Tim McMahon.
Tim McMahon.
Tim McMahon.
And Tim McMahon, I believe, was the one who wrote the article yesterday.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a mea culpa. I haven't read that yet.
Says Dave Joerger insisted that his lofty praise of Dallas Mavericks rookie star Luka Doncic wasn't intended as a slight at his team's front office and declared that Marvin Bagley III was, quote, the right guy for us to select at the number 2 overall pick.
And where is that located?
At the top. That's the lead.
That's the lead of the on ESPN.
Oh, I thought you meant that graph. No, that's ESPN. You go to the NBA page.
Right. So it's not on ESPN's front page like the other thing was?
It was earlier.
Gotcha.
It's not now.
Well, good for Tim. Let's get into last night. Here's Dave Joerger after the game.
They won the jump ball, got up 14-4. That was a game. So, any questions?
The second quarter, when you emptied the bench, you let Buddy stay in for a while. Was that because he was shooting well early?
He was pretty, a large part of any offensive success that we were having. We were struggling to score. We came out and played isolation basketball. That's not who we are. We've got to be better. Good.
I feel like the early start there tonight, coming off of the game last night, was a little sluggish, or did you see anything like that?
Yeah, we got to be better in the back-to-backs, and this is about our fourth one where we're playing and a team that's rested. And I think when you look at the end of the season, generally those things kind of all even themselves out. It comes back to you, and you get to be the receiver of some of those. So we've got to be better. That's just what I told them. Whether back-to-back and both teams run back-to-back or back-to-back and somebody's rested, and we've got to be better.
Take anything away from the way you guys responded in that third quarter, really kind of put that run together a little bit?
I'm happy that the guys stayed ready to play because everybody has a role on one of the roster in the NBA, and you're going to have some nights like these, and I commend those guys for going out there, being professional, playing hard, and taking the minutes so that other guys can, we're really, really banged up right now. And then I was contemplating doing some other things before the game, of some other things, and I didn't. And so, got up to a slow start, and I just didn't feel like putting those guys back in was going to be worth it.
Oh, you're there at the end. I was contemplating doing some other things before the game. I don't want to put words in his mouth. We just got done talking about responsibility of the media. I don't want to put any words in his mouth, so let me be very clear. My guess, and I could be wrong, but my guess is the other things he was contemplating doing was just flat out resting some of those guys and not even playing them at all. Guys like De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, when you think about doing some other things, I don't. What else could he mean? Like switching up the rotations, bringing the starters off the bench to give him some extra rest. I mean, that he's not going to do that.
I think, again, and maybe people have cooled off. Maybe it's a different audience listening right now at 1-800-920-1140. Again, I understand the narrative. I understand the thought process. Hey, they're close in the Western Conference. You can't just forfeit games, blah, blah, blah. I disagree with that. People don't like to hear forfeit games. There's that mentality of some fans like, you got to play. You play to win the game. Every game, you don't quit. You don't wave the white. By the way, he also did this on the road, and I think that's important too. I think it would be a different issue had he done that at home, and we've talked about that in the past when guys rest players. I think he looked at it. It's what's called a schedule loss. That's what it is.
Third game in 4 nights. You're on the road back-to-back against a team that's good at home. Like it's tough. And you're playing for an 82-game stretch. Yeah, they're a game out right now, or they're within a game of the playoffs, or in the playoffs by a game, or whatever it is. They're in the race. Okay, so they go hard, and let's say they win last night by 1, and they gas themselves, and then lose 4 in a row here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long-term thing happening here, and yeah, you can say you want to win every game, and that's true, but realistically, you're setting up for a run in April and May. And if you empty your tank in December, you're never going to get there.
And the whole thing, people, if we miss the playoffs by 1 game, that might be the thing people are saying that I think is the dumbest.
That's really bad.
It's really, really stupid, and I'll tell you why. Think about it. Guys, if we miss the playoffs by 1 game, they should probably build a statue of Dave Joerger outside of Golden One Center. Think about what you're saying. If we miss the playoffs by 1 game, no, stupid. If we miss the playoffs by 1 game, do you know what that means? That means odds are this team will have won 43, 44, 45 games. On a team that Vegas thought was going to win, what, 24, 25? If we miss the playoffs by 1 game, Coach Joerger, if not winning Coach of the Year, is going to finish in the top 2 or top 3. And everybody over the summer is going to be thinking about the Kings not just making the playoffs next year, but they're a dark horse title contender, especially if they grab a free agent or make a trade or do whatever. So when you say, if we miss the playoffs by 1 game, I'm going to point to this game, you sound like an idiot. If we miss the playoffs by 1 game, that is, please, I can't believe I'm about to say this. This is like the most foreign, of all the things I've said about this Kings season so far, this is the most foreign to me. Are there actually Kings fans out there that are already entitled? What does that even mean to say entitled Kings? An entitled Kings fan? You shut up in there. I mean, are you kidding me? Dude.
I love it.
What are you thinking? This team was supposed to be garbage. Garbage. They are exceeding all expectations. The coach is in the conversation for Coach of the Year in every circle. They're 2 games over 500. They have the 2nd most road wins in the NBA. Maybe he's earned enough slack to where when he's the guy traveling with this team, living with this team, he has doctors and trainers and literal scientists paying attention. Maybe it doesn't benefit him, who's on a lame duck contract next year, to purposely lose a game. Would you rather have Tom Thibodeau playing his guys 38 minutes in a blowout every freaking night? They're banged up. He pulled them. It's a schedule loss. God, shut up. Dude, you probably had money on the game. And if that's the case, you need to separate that. Coach Joerger, is not his job to make sure you win the bet. It's his job to make sure the Kings win ball games over an 82-game season. If we miss the playoffs by 1 game, do you know how dumb you sound? I hate doing this because this is where people get really pissed at me. Like, it's totally condescending. It is. I am condescending. Yes, I am being really condescending right now because I'm very, very loyal to the guy who has turned this franchise around and developed players and created stability and taking us from the day DeMarcus Cousins was traded 2 years ago this February to where we are right now after a decade plus of utter, disgusting failure. And when he sits his guys in a 3-4 nights game in Minnesota and people start, hey, wave the white flag, you bunch of garbage, millennials, millionaires. If we don't make the playoffs, get out. Go get. You know what? Go get your Warrior jersey. Seriously, go get your Warrior jersey. Get out of here. It's just stupid. I'm tired. I tried to be fair for all opinions matter, and honestly, everybody has a right to. No, you don't have a right. You don't have a right. Your rights are revoked. I'm revoking them as the arbiter of rights for fans. Throw on the purple flag, Kyle. Offsides. False start. Fans.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Want to go to break so we can call Matt Barrows?
Yeah, that's fine. Just leave Dave Joerger alone. Just leave him alone.
It's my coach.
It's my coach, man. Leave him alone. He's done so much for us. Let's take a break, man. I'm sweating, man. Matt Barrows.
You are glistening in there.
Oh God! God, come on! Like 2 days ago,
I'm here for entitled Kings fans.
Like I see Kings fans have to we don't know what to do here. So everyone's scrambling. They don't know how to root for a good team. Like, I think we're supposed to win every game. I think. Maybe it's good. Let's switch to football next. Matt Barrows on the Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.